I have said it many times before, and I'm sure I'll say it many times again, but the old methods of horsemanship and training that relied heavily on domination and force are on their way out. And they're being replaced by a whole bunch of other opportunities and options that are much kinder and gentler toward horses. However, I think some of these are leaving out something really important, which is the idea of respect. And we're going to be talking today about what respect really means in a forceless and dominationless method and style of training, how we can still earn our horses' respect and also give them our respect. And we're going to be talking about some of these new methods that are emerging and where I think that there are some that are very, very promising, as well as some that maybe are kind of lacking this idea of respect and how you can begin to earn your horse's respect. And we're going to be covering all of that in just the next few minutes. So stick with me. Wow. Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm a whole horse stewardship trainer, and I help horses and humans just like you to have a deeper bond and better connection through whole horse stewardship principles, including groundwork, ridden work, mounted work, and mindset all together. I'm joined today by my lovely boomerang horse, Olive. She's going to be in the way the whole entire time again today, and that is her job here. So we're going to let it happen. Okay, so I think that this idea of respect is a really interesting one because for so much of horse and human history, people needed to ride, whether or not we wanted to, whether or not the horse wanted to. It was a survival thing for all of us. We needed to ride our horses. And now we're in this interesting moment where we now have cars and tractors and other means of transportation. And so we don't have to ride anymore, but we choose to ride. And so now we're kind of, as an industry and as a like horse world culture, we're really grappling with this idea of, if we don't have to ride, then how do we treat and care for our horses in this new kind of context and paradigm? So with that in mind, I'm seeing a really huge emergence of gentler, more thoughtful methods of horse training. And I think a lot of these are really amazing and super cool. I'm not going to call out any particular trainers here today, but I'm seeing, a lot of more like ethics informed horse training coming out, which I think is really fascinating. However, I do think there are some that go so far as to say that riding horses is always unethical or bits are always unethical. And I just don't know that I totally agree with that, because I think we have bred these animals for so long to serve a purpose. And I think a lot of times when I see horses that are not being ridden, not all of them, some of them really don't like to be ridden, and that's fine. But some horses, I think, really feel a sense of purpose when they're being ridden and have a job. And I think to take that away from them could also be sort of unethical, to like kind of take that sense of purpose and work um and yeah, a role in the world. I think a lot of horses really crave that. And so I think it really is a case by case basis. Um, a lot of horses don't like to just sit around all the time. A lot of horses love to be ridden, but not all of them do. And so, kind of case by case, looking at each horse and approaching it from that direction. But also, I think like this, somewhere along the way, this idea of respect got conflated with like domination and force and intimidation and fear. And I just don't think that that's actually true. So, if you stop for a moment and think about the people in your life that you respect, maybe your mom or your grandmother or I don't know, a mentor or teacher, I'm going to venture to guess that the people that you have the most respect for are not the people that demanded your respect, but the people that earned it over time by showing that they're trustworthy and that they have high integrity and that they have good values and that they're just like generally good humans. Those are probably the people that you have the most respect for. And I think it's the same with our horses. I think that if respect isn't something that we like walk in and demand from a horse, I think we can, good or bad, useful or not useful, we'll leave that out of this debate, but we can demand subordination. We can demand compliance. But that's not truly respect. I think respect comes from time and patience and consistency and showing up on hard days and showing our horses that we respect them. And I think that that's when our horses then build a sense of respect for us, and it becomes this like two-way street. But I think it really does have to go both ways. And so with that in mind, let's think a little bit about how we could start to earn our horse's respect and how we could start to develop a mutual respect that goes both ways. So I think it really starts with trust, honestly, and us trusting them, and um, and then also with asking them to trust us. And so a lot of times I see this with like having horses learn new things or exposing them to things that are a little bit like nerve wracking or come on, bud, taking them on adventures, going on trail rides. These all build the trust between us. Lessons are great. Riding in the arena is great, but I think that doesn't really take a whole lot of trust to trot around in circles. I think the trust really comes when we start to actually ask more of our horses and ourselves. So pushing yourself just a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And I talk a lot about this in a lot of my confidence videos. The idea that confidence is built when we push just ever so slightly. Come on, why don't you come over here? Outside of our comfort zone, and then it goes well. I think it's the same with trust. Trust is built when we ask a little bit more of our horses and of ourselves, and it goes well. That's when we build trust. Um, the other thing that goes into respect is good, healthy boundaries. So even right now, with Olive, I'm creating a boundary around the camera because she really wants to get in and see what it is. But I'm saying that's actually not a place that I want you to go. The important thing to know about boundaries with horses is that they don't tell stories about why something's happening. So she's not sitting here going, my mom doesn't want me to touch the camera. Come on, dude. Come on. My mom doesn't want me to touch the camera because she doesn't love me or she doesn't think I no, she's just mean or she's a bully or whatever. Like she's not sitting here telling stories about why I don't want her to touch the camera. She's just going, oh, there's a boundary there and I'm not supposed to touch the camera. Moving on to the next thing. The important thing with this though is as humans, again, when we set a boundary, a lot of times then we carry the resentment of that boundary. And so once she walks away, you'll notice I'm not continuing to chase her saying, I said, don't touch the camera. Why would you even think about whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing any of that. I'm saying, don't touch the camera. And as soon as she walks away, the pressure goes away and I leave her alone. That is a very horse centric way of setting a boundary. And I think boundaries are really important with horses. And I do think it builds trust and respect. So again, boundaries not in a angry disciplining kind of way, but in a way of saying, this is what's safe, this is what's desired, and anything short of that is just not something I'm going to accept in a very clear and calm and confident way is going to build that respect between horse and rider. And then the final thing that I think goes into it is consistency, making sure that every time you show up for your horse, you're showing up regulated, that you're showing up ready, that you're not kind of like scattered and making your horse wait for you and I don't know, showing up disorganized and not ready to ride and it takes you like half the ride to wake up and um sometimes you're angry at your horse and sometimes you're happy with them and you're just kind of super inconsistent all over the place. A horse is going to have a really hard time respecting you if they can't rely on you in that way. And so building this consistency over time with lots of repetitions, every time you show up, you're ready for the ride, you're ready to do the work that's required of you, that you're giving your horse your full attention while you're riding and you're not kind of distracted or disorganized or all of those things I think really command respect. Now, the other thing about all of this is that some horses are going to be harder to earn the respect of than others, just like some people, right? Like some people meet you and immediately they're like, oh, I like you and we're good. I trust you. And for better or worse, right? Sometimes those people get into situations where they maybe shouldn't have trusted someone. But with horses, it's the same. So some horses, you're going to meet them and they're going to immediately be like, oh, let's be friends. And then some horses, you're going to meet them and it's going to take some time and that's okay. But the biggest thing with those horses that takes time is that the more you try to force it and rush it, the harder it's going to be. And if you can just slow down and just let it be what it is and let it take as long as it takes and really wait for them to decide to trust and respect you, you're going to have such a better outcome than if you try to kind of get in there and force it quickly or try to make it happen. So that's a lot to think about. I know it's not a ton of like concrete advice, but I guess if I were to give you action items based on this, I would say go adventuring with your horse. Go do things that require you to trust each other in a safe way. Don't get hurt. Um, don't get your horse hurt, but go do something that requires you to actually pay attention to each other and to trust each other and to put some effort into that. And then also to just be consistent, to find ways to regulate yourself, to come in ready for your ride emotionally, mentally, physically, so that you're not kind of asking your horse to put in more effort than you are willing to put in yourself, and be the kind of person that your horse wants to respect and trust. Um, and show up as that kind of person every single day, because that's really where the respect and trust are built, not in fear or intimidation or domination. That's just subordination. That's not the same thing. So I hope that helps. And until next time, make sure to hug your horse for me.